I'm going to show you how I made over $4 million of revenue on Amazon, and I only started with $900. I'm going to share with you step by step exactly how I started my Amazon FBA business and what my product is. And at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you the top 3 mistakes that I've made, including one mistake that cost me over $100,000. So pay attention because you really don't want to make those mistakes, especially since I've already made them. My name is Mina. I used to be an engineer and I thought that was the right path. I graduated from college, got good grades, got a good job, worked up the corporate ladder, had a good, apartment, a good house. I felt like I was in prison. I would wake up every morning, commute 45 minutes to work for 9 hours, commute 45 minutes back. All I did was work out, sleep, and repeat the same thing over and over again. It's like I was stuck in a time loop. And after having multiple jobs, I just realized that nothing was gonna get better. My total salary was $5,000 a month that I would take home. And I just wanted to make those same $5,000 a month with doing anything else. And I met this guy, he was sitting right next to me and he sold a coffee brand on Amazon. And he told me that he was making $10 million a year on Amazon. That was kind of that light bulb moment to thinking, you know what, like this is actually a real thing. I could actually make a lot of money and potentially become a millionaire off of Amazon FBA. Now, since 2013, I'd been an MMA fighter and I've always been a huge fanatic of supplements. So I just kind of had this idea, what if I created the best supplement for MMA fighters? And guys, make sure to smash that like button because I was able to find my product by spending $0 doing product research. I used the free version of Helium 10. My product research was not conventional. I was looking to create something for MMA fighters. I knew it was going to be a supplement, and it was just a matter of figuring out, where the demand was, what keywords were being searched, what my competitors were ranking for, things like that, right? And so Helium 10 is a great product research tool and keyword research tool, and I highly suggest that if you guys are getting started on Amazon, you use it. And I know that Travis has a discount code, so probably put that somewhere in the description. Now, the next cost I incurred was $275. I paid for graphic design and I used one of my friends. I actually had to create a logo and to create a 3D render of the product and to create a label. So I hired a friend from college and that cost me $275 for her to do all of that stuff. But that was actually a mistake that cost me over $5,000. And I'm gonna reveal the exact mistake later on in this video. Now, there are many places where you can get your logos, your product images, your 3D render, your listing images, all of that stuff designed. There's, for example, Fiverr, Upwork, 99 Designs. One that I really like is a company called FBA Creatives, where they'll design your entire Amazon listing, including photos, title, and everything that you need to use. If you use a coupon code Travis50, you can get 50% off. So shout out to Travis for always hooking us up with pretty good coupons. Next, 3D renders. So the next expense that I paid was $50 for 3D renders. Now, one of the mistakes that I made was when I used my friend, we were not very clear on the scope of work. And so even though she did a pretty decent job at some of the images, I actually needed more because the product listing was not complete. And so I had to go to Fiverr and pay $50 extra to get some additional photos. Now, the quality was not that good. My next cost was $350 to start my LLC. I just went to LegalZoom and I did it myself. If I were to go back in time and do it, I would use Wyoming agents. I personally like to use them. It's only $200 to create your LLC there. And then from there, you go to the IRS website, get an EIN, and then from there you can create a bank account and you're good to go. And so the reason that you need an LLC is because you need separation between, your personal and a business, or else you could get sued personally and they could take all of your assets and everything. My next cost was $400 for a trademark. Now, this is something that I did later on that I wish I did as soon as I started my business, which is file a trademark for my name, which is now hard work. It used to be Hydrolite, but when I actually filed for a trademark for Hydrolite was notified and they came and said, well, this sounds too close to our name. You're not allowed to do this. And I actually ended up getting sued and I had to change my name to Hard Work from Hydrolite. But this was after a year of building a brand equity and I had to change everything, all my labels and all of that kind of stuff. Next, I spent $50 to get samples from my manufacturer. So again, this was a very unconventional way of doing it. I Googled and I looked for raw ingredient suppliers and I was able to find one manufacturer. And then I bought the raw ingredients from this manufacturer so I can mix it at home. And then I just had this idea. I said, what if I just asked this manufacturer if he could make the mix for me? So I texted him and he replied and said, yeah, I could actually make the mix for you. It's going to cost $5 per unit. So I said, great, can I get some samples? And he charged me $50 to get a few samples. So in conclusion, it cost me anywhere between $900 to $1,000 to start my entire Amazon FBA business. And I actually saw a video of Travis and it was with my other friend, Samer, who's also a YouTuber. And so they did this video where Travis talked about how he was doing $50,000 a month selling on Amazon, selling supplements, performance nut butter. And, I flew out to LA and I asked to meet with him. And so we actually hung out and we played basketball call, and Travis explained to me how he was able to go from 0 to 50,000 a month. And actually, he shared all of his strategies on how he hires people and how he had VAs and all that kind of stuff. And literally a month after meeting him, I actually hired my first virtual assistant, and that was what really allowed me to scale my business. And in a minute, I'm gonna show you exactly how I was able to achieve that. I also recommend checking this 10-hour free course on YouTube that Travis put out there, because selling on Amazon is pretty complex. I'm going to try and give you as much knowledge as I can in this video, but Travis has put together a free 10-hour course. I highly recommend you guys watch it. Now I have my product, right? And now I needed to ship my product from my manufacturer to Amazon. And it actually only cost me $10 because it was 500 units. And back then it actually cost like 10 cents a unit to ship products from my manufacturer to Amazon. And I did that through the Amazon portal. So you just go to inventory, manage inventory, send products to Amazon, and it'll just walk you through Amazon's partnered shipping, which is UPS. Now, one thing to pay attention to is UPC codes. UPC code is a universal product code. It's a unique barcode that gets placed on the product when you're shipping it out to, to anywhere, and then it gets scanned. So we know that this UPC code is for this product. Now, you want to make sure that you buy a UPC code from the right place. And where I bought them from was gs1.org. It actually only costs $30 for a barcode. Another expense that I had was the $40 a month that I had to pay for my professional Amazon Seller Central account. And I know Travis has a ton of information just about this topic in Passion Product Formula. So guys, make sure to check out his course. The link is in the description. All right, let me share with you my exact numbers and results. I made $252,190 in my first year selling on Amazon. But it's important that you understand that this was just revenue and not profits. I sold 12,637 units, and it cost me over $63,000 in cost of goods to produce those products. And there's obviously a lot of fees involved with Amazon, so I want to break those down. The first fee cost me almost $38,000, which was the 15% referral fee that I have to pay to Amazon, just as the cost of doing business on Amazon. So it's a 15% commission that Amazon keeps for allowing you to sell on their platform. You have to pay this fee whether you're using Amazon FBA or Amazon FBM, which is fulfilled by merchant or fulfilled by Amazon. And the next fee that I'll explain is the FBA fee, which is the fulfilled by Amazon fee. For me, I paid over $41,300 for Amazon. Now this fee is for Amazon to take my product off the shelf, put it in a bag or in a box, and pack it and ship it out to my customers. Then I paid $53,500 for PPC, or pay-per-click advertising, which I'll explain in a second. But for my first year selling on Amazon, I made just over $48,000 in profit. It felt incredible, and it felt insane to actually make that much money, which is pretty much close to how much I was taking home being an engineer. And it was an amazing feeling to know that I actually chose the right product right out of the gate. In my first year selling on Amazon, I learned that launching and the honeymoon phase is incredibly important. The honeymoon phase is essentially the first 30 to 45 days when you're on Amazon, where Amazon is measuring how good of a product you are. What works on Amazon is launching really aggressively, and in that honeymoon phase, getting your sales velocity up, because then Amazon looks and says, this is actually a really good product. I'm going to start ranking this product higher organically, which means you start getting more and more of the free sales, which is exactly what you want. The next lesson that I learned was people buy with their eyes. So you absolutely cannot skimp on creatives. When I launched my product, it was a golden bag with a sticker that's stuck on top of it. It's actually really not that good. And then later on, I evolved the product to a printed bag. Later on, I made it into a nice container, and I improved, the label and all that kind of stuff. So there's a huge evolution in my creatives from my first product until now. And I realized more and more that people really care about what the product looks like, because that's all they have to judge your product on Amazon, is just the images. And another thing that I learned was reviews are everything. The higher your reviews, the more money you're gonna make. Now, these sales and the profit that I made in the first year were proof that I created a great product, and I wanted that success to continue. I wanted to keep going. I wanted to keep selling and making more and more money. I knew that I had to invest in advertising the product because the product was new, no one knew about it, and if I didn't spend money on ads, it would not show up anywhere. Like, no one was going to be able to find the product. So naturally, I invested a lot in PPC. Now, PPC is pay-per-click. This is basically where you advertise your products in the different search results, and you only pay when someone clicks on your ad. Amazon PPC is pretty complex, so if you guys don't know much about it, I highly recommend you guys check out more of Travis's YouTube videos on PPC. I actually did another video with him just on PPC, and there's plenty of that in the course as well. In the first 12 months, my MMA Nutrition listing, my very first product, actually got over 4 million views. Let's talk about year 2. In year 2, my revenue went up to $715,000. I sold almost 26,000 units. My cost of goods was a little over $127,000, and my Amazon FBA fee was a little over $108,000. My PPC was over $180,000, and all of that resulted in a net profit of over $166,000 on Amazon. Now that's pretty insane because that's double the highest salary that I ever had in my entire life after 5 years of working in the corporate 9 to 5. Now, the reason that my sales and profits grew so much was because of two things. Number one, I kept spending more money on PPC, and obviously that meant more visibility. And number two, I kept improving my conversion rate. So as I got more reviews and as I improved my listing, I actually started converting better. So more people saw me, more people clicked on me, and more people converted, which resulted in way more sales and way more profit. Now, year 3, things got even better. I made $1.3 million that year and about $229,000 in profit. Now, here are some of the things that I did a little bit differently in year 3. Number one, way better listing. My images were super dialed. My main image was attractive. It actually had eye candy. It filled out the white space. I had really good A+ content. I had videos on the listing. I had coupons. I had subscribe and save activated. I made sure to do everything possible to have the highest conversion rate on my listing. Now, another thing that was a very big game changer was I went from bags to jars. That was one of the biggest game changers because I started noticing that people really like the jars way more than the bags. And I also want to mention this because one of the biggest changes as well is I went from $180,000 in PPC spend to over $400,000 in PPC spend. And I know that sounds crazy and that sounds like a lot of money being spent on ads, but it was one of the reasons why people started seeing my product more and more and more, and eventually, more of them bought. Now, year 4 was a very big turning point for me. For revenue, I did over $860,000. In PPC spend, I only did $10,000, and in profits, I did over $406,000 in net profit. Now, that is an insane number in profits, and the craziest thing was, this was the year that I decided to quit my Amazon FBA business. If you guys aren't familiar, I actually have an Amazon agency called Trivium, and during that year, that was the year where I was doing a little bit of Trivium and a little bit of Amazon. After starting the agency with only a very few amount of clients, helping those clients make more money on Amazon, I was actually taking home more money than I was from Amazon. And so I decided, you know what? I should just focus all of my energy on the agency, and I'm just gonna shut down the ads on my product listings, and I'm just gonna let it sell out and eventually, call it a day. And what happened was, because I was really ranked very, very strong organically, I actually continued to sell pretty decently. I went down from 1.3 million down to 800,000, but I cut down all of my ad spend, and all of that turned into profit. And year 5, which was this year, 2024, I made $880,000 in revenue and over $500,000 in net profit. I was actually selling the product for $27.99 and I went up all the way to $37.99. And my revenue stayed the same, but essentially my profit just went way higher. So in total, I've done over $4 million in revenue. And after you subtract all of my costs and all of my Amazon fees, I did over $1.3 million in net profit on Amazon. Now, looking back, if you told me that by investing $900 to start an Amazon FBA business, I was going to be making $4 million in total revenue and over $1 million in net profit that I get to keep and take home, I would have never believed you. It was honestly an insane journey. Now you guys are way luckier because you have Travis's course, you have all these free resources, you have his channel, you have my channel. So all of that to say, if you actually create a product that is better than all the other products on the market, you could really start with a little bit of money and scale and, get to this point, and it's pretty achievable. It's just all a matter of understanding what the customer wants and just continuously improving and learning and getting better and better and better. Mistake number 1, being too cheap. This mistake cost me $10,000. This is a 2-part problem. When I first started, I was bootstrapping my business. So I hired a friend for graphic design. I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and she ended up ghosting me. This cost a lot of money because she did a half job, she didn't do the full job, and when I needed changes and when I needed improvements, she just was not there. And that cost me a lot of loss to revenue because every single day my listing was not converting well because she basically gave me 2 or 3 images and then she was gone. So I ended up rushing and spending way more money on Fiverr a week before launching my product on Amazon. The images weren't done on time, and all of that stuff just hurt my conversion rate. And honestly, that was a pretty big lesson for me because I realized more and more that people are simply buying with their eyes on Amazon. You can't touch the product, you can't feel the product, you can't try the product. Now that mistake kind of led into the next mistake, was because my budget was blowing up and I was spending all this extra money trying to get graphic design, and it kind of felt like a little bit like the budget was creeping up on me. I decided to skimp on product inspection. And so instead of inspecting the first 100 units that I was sending to Amazon and make sure that everything was fine, I just sent them to Amazon, and 60 out of those 100 units ended up exploding during the shipping. People were receiving the products with all this powder everywhere, just completely exploded, half empty. And you can obviously tell what happened after that. A bunch of returns, a bunch of angry people. And so I just did my best, and I was serving each person one by one, apologizing, letting them know what happened, letting them know that, I promise I'll make it up to them and all that kind of stuff. And so if there's anything to take away from that mistake, never, ever, ever skimp on quality control. Now, it actually gets way worse than this. So a year later, I had forgotten about this mistake and I stopped doing quality control because, second batch, third batch, fourth batch, fifth batch, they were all pretty good. So I was like, maybe I just don't need to do quality control anymore. And that was a huge, huge, huge mistake, which I can't even quantify how much money I lost by doing that. My manufacturer had changed one of my ingredients from a regular source, a mineral source, to a marine source. And as a result, if you leave it for 2 minutes and then drink it, it tastes like fish water. This absolutely destroyed my reviews. I got so many 1-star reviews. I had thought that pretty much I need to shut down the business, but thankfully I did not quit. I just put my head down and I grinded harder, and I got more and more and more positive reviews. And now I'm on the other side of it. All that to say, never skimp on quality control. And I highly recommend that you do not make all the same mistakes that I made. Travis has a course that has over 100 tutorials, step-by-step tutorials, and a lot of videos to help you learn and avoid all of the mistakes that I made. I highly recommend you guys join the course. The link is in the description. And like I said, if you just want a little taste without spending any money, Travis has a free 10-hour YouTube course that you guys can take. Link is in the description. And thank you guys for tuning in.